Welcome back to the news, and reports have just come in that Arsenal have lost their 10th game in a row and Harry Nicol, their manager, has now been sacked. The board have now opened up to anybody from the public who think they can get one win in their remaining games in this season in the Premier League. But now, we're going to go to the weather with Professor Stormy Field.
Thanks for that, Zafar. Now for the weather. So as you see, we have a very hot front moving through down Africa to the north coast here. And a very, very cold climate moving through England from the north to the south, and rains in Asia, meaning that it's going to be very wet. Breaking news, back to you, Zappa.
Breaking news. The death toll of the Mexican drug war has now reached 150,000 people, not including the 27,000 people who are still missing. It started in 2006, and now the wholesale earnings range from 13 to 49 billion US dollars annually. Mexico is now responsible for 90% of the cocaine smuggled into the US. We're going to get more on this story from a man on the ground, Longbull Rory.
Thanks, Zafar. The Mexican drug war is an ongoing, low-intensity conflict between the Mexican government and various drug trafficking syndicates since 2006. The government's principal goal has been to put down the drug-related violence. Additionally, the Mexican government has claimed that their primary focus is on dismantling the powerful drug cartels, rather on them preventing drug trafficking, which they have actually left to the US government to deal with. Although Mexican drug trafficking organisations have existed for several decades, their influence has increased since the 1990s. Mexican drug cartels now dominate the wholesale illicit drug market, and in 2007 controlled 90% of the cocaine entering the United States. Arrests of key cartel leaders, particularly in the Tijuana and Gulf cartels, has led to the increasing drug violence as cartels fight for control of trafficking routes into the United States. By the end of 2012, the official death toll of the Mexican drug war was at more than 60,000. Further estimates set the death toll above 150,000 killed by 2016, not including 30,000 missing. And now I have...
I'm sorry to have to inform you viewers, but our presenter, Longbull Rory, has had to go and get his jumper after it was stolen by some local Mexicans who wanted some drugs. Here it is now.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Sorry about that, viewers, for that disturbance. Now, we are going to speak to an islet-headed cat called Carlos, who is currently just walking into the studio now. He is actually in a very disturbed state, so please, our thoughts for him. Carlos, how does the Mexican drug war affect your current day life?
It is terrible. My house has been destroyed. I lost my job, but worst of all, my family aren't safe anymore. I live under the constant threat of death.
Okay. Sure, that was very heartbreaking for all of us. And then, how do you think the government what do you think they could do to help people like you deal with the consequences of this war, and your family, of course?
The government aren't doing nearly enough to solve this dispute. If they want to solve this, they need to have more police officials hunting down drug lords.
And what about your mother, child? Anything to say on how they could be helped?
I am not certain, but I'm sure my son is dead.
And finally, Carlos, before we have our break, one last question. What do you think is going to happen in the future as regards to this war? Do you think it's going to get better, going to get worse? Please be in quite depth in your answer here, if you can.
I am not too sure, but I'm hopeful it may get better. but it is possible that the drug lords will grow in strength and could even overthrow the government if they try. However, as I say, I am not certain.
And do you think that's likely that could, or do you think there are other possibilities?
I don't know, but I like to think that anything is possible.
Thank you for your time, Carlos. Very glad to hear from you. And now back to Zafar.
Thanks for that, Longwall Rory. Now we're going to return to the weather of Professor Storm E. Fields.
Thanks for that, Zafar. Now back to the weather. So, as you can see, here in China, we have some huge weather problems with a massive tsunami forecast to hit Australia just here. While you were gone, I heard we actually had a few location problems, so I think pretty sure that we've got those sorted, and we have actually discovered another continent. So, great. Thanks for that, Zafar.
Thanks for that, Professor Storm E. Fields. That's all we've got time for tonight, but join us again tomorrow when we're going to have a documentary about Arsenal's fall from grace.